Welcome, everyone, to A Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. And tonight, my show is about scandalous accusations. These scandalous accusations that have been going around, some of them, I think, made up. Some of them, like, for example, the whole San Diego Union Tribune article where they're talking about the investigation of the FBI into that, Tiger Man and
the Tiger Man.
cartels, all
Siegfried
that
and
crazy.
Royd.
I think some of these things are probably not real.
Mm-hmm.
There's some things that they definitely, there's some questions that I have. But then there's some other accusations that are coming out that are apparently they have some substance to them, because it appears that there's a lawsuit involved. And this has to do with a topic I started talking about on my last show here on A Mexican Crossing Lines, in which I told you about an article in the Daily Caller about Winona LaDuke and her organization, Honor the Earth, being involved with the sexual harassment, molestation, cover-up of some young boys. And also mishandling of funds. I don't know. We're going to get into it deeper tonight, though. What I'm saying is I'm going to bring you more details about what this scandal surrounding the abuse of young boys by the cover-up of this abuse, the allowing of this abuse to continue. These are the allegations in this lawsuit that we're going to talk more deeply about. And speaking of abusing children, I don't know if you have heard, this information is something I've been talking about for a while with regard to unaccompanied minors, with regard to migrant children in the caravan, that they are being abused, that American activists are providing them with drugs, that they're involved in kidnapping them and smuggling them. And now this is all being confirmed on a wider scale than we even knew about. I'm going to bring you some information about that from an NPR report on these fake families, fake documents that are being discovered by the thousands, folks. That's what's actually happening on the daily. I've brought you so much information in my recent interviews with people in Tijuana, migrants, people getting ready to cross into the United States, people asking for asylum, that they do not trust the lawyers groups. They do not trust the activists, because these activists are manipulating, exploiting them, etc. So we are going to talk about all of that, and I'm going to bring you back to how this connects to Standing Rock and this pseudo activism, fake activism by the leadership of who they've put in front and center in all of this, brown faces. But really, the people in power in government and the upper echelons of the orchestrating of this caravan and many other disasters before it, like Standing Rock, they're moneyed, privileged people in power. They're not the people most affected by the issues. They're astroturfing, stealing, usurping, putting themselves in charge of, and then telling us, speaking down to us, the actual people involved in the affected most by these issues, and telling us how they're going to save us with a person of color in front of them that they talk through like a puppet. It is, frankly, it's insulting. But I'm going to have a longer conversation about this during the show. And we're just going to look at everybody's take on this Honor the Earth Winona LaDuke lawsuit scandal, what other allegations people are throwing out about her, and the response that she gave publicly on social media. Will also be reminding folks tonight what organizations these folks were involved with, because like the people in Al Otro Lado who I have been showing you, have been lying to the public, committing, creating fake documents, as Pastor Albert showed us, fake marriages, and also telling people that they are guaranteed asylum in the United States, all sorts of unethical acts. The Water Protector Legal Collective / Freshet, the fiscal agent of which is Honor the Earth, Winona LaDuke's organization, is also been scrutinized for their lack of support of some of the most important cases, like the Kathleen Bennett case, for the fact that they were working with the people that framed Kathleen Bennett, like Christina Hollenbach, and that they represented many of the people that gave false statements to Morton County that put an innocent woman in jail at Standing Rock. There was a lot of things that the Water Protector Legal Collective and Freshet were accused of, including taking the millions and millions and millions of dollars that they raised for Standing Rock and using it for their future campaigns to stop other construction projects, infrastructure projects, etc. So we're going to get into all of that and how that plays into what's happening right now. Who is leading these movements? Who is leading the caravans, this mass migration, this policy point? Who's doing it? We're going to show you more about who's doing it. First, though, as per the usual, I want to thank everyone that supports our work by sending us information. Oh, Duke and I forgot to say Happy Mother's Day to all the moms. I've been so busy today. We really haven't had a chance to celebrate and chillax.
That's right.
We'll have to do it after the show.
Oh, yeah.
Because we can. And I don't have Nemo helping me tonight, so they're all, I think they went out.
Yeah.
But anyway, folks, I want you to know that I want to congratulate all the moms out there, the women that raise us, that have protected us. That's who we're honoring. And I want to thank my mother and my grandmothers. They're very important people in my life. And, and even my stepmom. So to all the moms out there, Happy Mother's Day. Feliz Dia de las Madres. This is the day that we celebrate Mother's Day in Mexico. And because I am a Mexican crossing lines, I always recognize Mother's Day on the 10th of May. It's always the 10th of May. It's not like the first Sunday in May. It's not. No, for Mexicans, it's always the 10th of May. No matter what day it is. And in the U.S., we always call our mom on May 10th because she will be mad at you if you don't call her on the Mexican Mother Day. So anyway, folks, thank you to all of you who support our work and send us information that we then use on our shows. If I haven't gotten back to you about something, feel free to shoot me another message. I have a ton of information to go through, and sometimes I get a little bit distracted, but thank you very much for your support of our work. And if you want to make a tax-deductible donation or have your business mentioned on our station with a donation, it's a great way of putting out there, putting your name out there and your business out there, your organization out there here in the Fargo metro area. Duke, tell them how they can do all that stuff.
Yes, and in Mother's Day today on the radio on the air, Stephen Lugar, who does Cafe Rica from 2 to 4 every day, wished your mother a happy Mother's Day at Ventura Loya, and he talked about how important mothers were and we should honor them. So he put your mother's name on the air today and announced it was actually a show from last year, but it was still May 10th, and he honored your mother on the radio today. So I really appreciate that.
That was
and very nice. And thank you to all of you who have been supporting us, who've been watching us, who spend the time to listen to these shows and watch these shows. There's so much information that you won't get anywhere else, because this is a Mexican Crossing Lines. And so there's different ways that you can send information. People really have different methods, and thank you, all of you who are doing it. If you haven't done it, here's a few ways you can get a hold of us. Obviously, we're on Facebook Live right now, so our Facebook page, 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead, is one place you can go to send information, and they're not limited to how much you can actually send. You can also go to the People's Press Project, the Mexi-Can on Facebook. There are a couple of other sites that we run in there. And if you want to do email, email Cindy at kpppfm.com. Cindy at kpppfm.com, or me, Duke at kpppfm.com. You can also tweet us at media_ppp. And Cindy has a public page at Cindy Goes Schempp. And we also have a call-in line that you can leave a voice message if you would rather leave a voice message to us instead of typing something out. You can call 701-566-0917. And also, you can always go to kpppfm.com. That's our main website. And, it's basically here. And what you do is you can click on programs, go to a Mexican Crossing Lines, and you can find all of our most recent programs. In fact, all of them are up to date. Here's one just from last night that has actually been put on the site. So there it is, and it has audio format that you can actually listen to the audio show. A lot of times these go on the radio, but not every time, not necessarily, but we do prepare audio files for every show. And then we have the actual YouTube upload of the show. Now you can go to YouTube and go to Duke 1517. That's the channel that we put all these videos on right after the shows are done. They're in high definition. Please subscribe. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. We have about 750. We need 250 more subscribers to subscribe to YouTube. It'll allow us to do more features and do some YouTube live videos, do live streams up on YouTube. And it would really be worthwhile to have more subscribers so more people to hear about it. We're still going to do Facebook Lives, but we want to also do YouTube Lives. So please do that. And also, don't forget to go to the Donate tab, kpppfm.com/donate, and make a donation to our nonprofit organization. We are a nonprofit, and we rely on the support of people in the community. And we've been in existence over 3 years. Well, we've actually been in existence longer than that, but we've had the radio station for 3 years. And it is a way that we can continue to raise funds for our charitable cause, which is the People's Press Project, which owns KPPP LP 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead. So please go to our page, make a donation, help support our work. Again, thank you for all the people who have supported us in the past, supported with projects. I mean, we were able to go to San Diego and Tijuana because of your donations. And we weren't living high on the hog. We didn't waste any of that money. We basically went down there to do work, and we still have more work to produce from that trip. And it's because of you and your support. So please help us out and make a tax-deductible donation to our nonprofit so we can continue the work we're doing. And we very much appreciate it. And also, if you would, this mic is really bad. Hopefully someday I will be able to afford to get a new one. I can't even touch it because it just zaps your ears. But that happens. That happens after the use of equipment. We're really gentle on it, but everything we have here is old and used that we had back in the days I ran sound for bands. So, we don't even have to have proper radio gear, but we're able to broadcast. We make things work because we're innovative, and we don't spend a lot of money on fancy things. We're very frugal, and we make things work, and your support would help us greatly. The YouTube channel, again, I've got to plug that one more time because it's a platform we really want to use instead of just putting up videos for people to watch. We want it to be interactive. You can help us do that by subscribing to our channel. And if you want to know when a video goes up or we go live, click the little alert button and you'll be notified. So tell your friends, help us out, get us more subscribers so that we can actually go on that platform and do a bang-up job.
Yes, the best thing you can do right now, easy peasy, is go subscribe on YouTube at Duke 1517 and Duke Gomez-Schempp. You can just look it up. I would really love it if we could improve our equipment and have cooler, standalone microphones that, all of this gear that other radio stations have. And I want to have all of that one day. But I do recognize, and I'm very proud of the fact that you are so resourceful and that you're such a fix-it-up type of dude.
Yep.
That
duct tape.
No, you're more You're smarter than that. You know how to use tools.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
a builder.
Mm-hmm.
You're a
Mm-hmm.
fixer of things. You make things run for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I love that about you. So appreciate you. Appreciate everything that the folks out there do for our station. And I want to jump off really quickly into this NPR article. I'm going to share that in the links of the show with you so you can go and check out the whole thing. I'm not going to play the whole thing for you here today. Why? Well, because we've got a lot of show to get to, but I'm going to tell you the most important parts, okay? The most important parts are that this NPR article details that the fake birth certificates and fake families are surging amongst the migrants at the border. This is coming up. And you've heard President Trump talk about this. Many people are making fun of him for talking about the fact that this is actually happening. And look, I get it. There's a lot of people that don't like him. I hate the way he talks about things sometimes because I know it's very everyman and people like that about him. But to me, when you're talking about such important issues, I think that you should have more reverence, and he doesn't seem to have any for any kind of thing that should be reverent.
Yeah.
So that bothers me because this is an issue that I relate to very much. I've been talking about immigration and the border and policy, and I've been working with immigration authorities and lawyers since I was a teenager and had the ability to translate for folks. And it bothers me that we can't talk about the real issues and, you know, all of those people that it is affecting because people are so polarized on the left or on the right. So I want to play a clip for you from this National Public Radio article, which I've shared in the links and the comments of the show. And we'll have that for you too on our website. But the main important part of this article that, you know, shows that there's cases of fake families popping up everywhere is that it's not isolated incidents, folks. It's thousands of people, thousands. In October alone, in the Yuma sector alone, since October, there has been 450 instances of fraudulent family units. There are kids, folks, imagine this, because I've told you that these groups, these organizations, these lawyers groups, these activist groups, these Antifa connected people are telling the migrants, are telling the people, are coaching the people and saying to them that if you have kids, you get out of detention earlier. Do you remember me telling that to the migrant OO in my interview with him, that I had just come from the ABS conference where they were talking about this, that Al Otro Lado was explaining this? This is something that they tell the migrants. So yeah, they're going to go borrow someone's kid so that they can get into the US of A, into the promised land, whatever it takes. You heard the other immigrant from Mexico that was crossing into the United States later that evening, according to his testimony, his interview, Alex Gomez, tell me that he didn't believe half of the migrants that he talked to from Central America claiming asylum because of a fear of death. Because he said that later on, when you talk to a lot of them, they told on themselves and said that, you know, they have to say that so that they can get processed for asylum, but that in truth, they're leaving because they want to get a good job and they want to make some more money, or they're fleeing, you know, an impoverished country, a place where there's no work. So this is basically on National Public Radio verifying that these things that I've been, that the migrants that I interviewed, that the people that I've talked to, like Father Albert, that the activists themselves in their candid moments and videos I've shown you admit that they know that the majority of these people are not going to get asylum. So they're being exploited, and the folks that are using these children are putting their lives at risk. I'm going to bring you in an upcoming show some of the videos of the people that are crossing the rivers, of the people that are putting these children like shields in front of them along the way, how those children as young as 3 years old are screaming and begging, please, don't cross that river. I don't want to go, begging for their own lives. All on film. And it's almost like it's clickbait, like nobody even cares that this is happening. They charge people. This is a huge money-making deal, not just because of the smuggling charges that are now being paid to these activists, these accompaniment people, these groups. They're also making money on the fabrication of the false documents. According to this article, $200 to $700 for, a birth certificate that's falsified or a... But did you see how I showed you that Nicole Ramos's organization, Al Otro Lado, was marrying people and giving them marriage certificates? They said to Oscar El Blue Ramirez in a video that we showed you here on my show, we're not doing that anymore. Mm-hmm. Recognizing that they were marrying people and giving them false marriage certificates. And Oscar El Blue Ramirez confronted them. This woman from the lawyers group Al Otro Lado came over to try to stop Oscar from exercising his rights as a journalist in Mexico, in his own country, in his own city of birth, that he was live streaming at the Chaparral, at the crossing, a public space. Please don't film. The thing they don't want to have on film is them. They could give a rip about the migrants, really. They put them in front of cameras and exploit them for the media all time, all day, every day. But if Oscar, a reporter, is there filming their activities, they don't want that. Could you please stop filming me? This area, there's a lot of migrants, she says, and that it's very delicate situation, something like that. And Oscar is like, I have the right to film here. Who are you? Why are you talking to me? And then she says, I'm, can I interview you? He says. And she's like, I'm with Al Otro Lado. And she goes, do you know us? And he goes, yes, of course. I know you. You guys are making fake marriages over here. And I have proof of it. And she goes, we're not. Those were ceremonies, she said. And we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
You remember that, dude?
I sure do.
You know why it's important, folks, that you know about this? Because it's rampant. I showed you an example of something that is happening, and this NPR report shows you that it's rampant. Go ahead and play the clip, Duke. Sick stuff, folks.
The Trump administration has been sounding the alarm about, quote, fake families amid the surge of Central Americans crossing the southern border. There has been an uptick in migrants traveling with minors who are not their children. The administration suspects foul play. But immigrant advocates say most of them are just trying to make it into the U.S. for a better life. NPR's John Burnett reports.
Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen had this provocative warning when she appeared before a congressional committee last week.
Cases of fake families are popping up everywhere, and children are being used as pawns. In fact, we have uncovered child recycling rings, a process by which innocent child are used multiple times to help migrants gain illegal entry. As a nation, we cannot stand for this.
Nielsen singled out one particularly sordid case involving a Guatemalan woman living in South Carolina. She's been indicted on federal charges. Officials say she would pair immigrant children with adults who were not their parents. They would present themselves as a family at the border, knowing that families traveling together are likely to be released to live in the U.S. until they get to immigration court. Adult immigrants who travel alone are usually detained or quickly deported. Border Patrol Associate Intelligence Chief Carl McLafferty described the South Carolina case in an appearance with Nielsen and the president last month at the White House.
One of the indictments was a woman who was being paid $1,500 a child to take the children back to Guatemala who were not part of actually a family unit. She claimed to doing this 13 times.
Child recycling cases are rare. What is a growing problem are fake documents. Up and down the southwest border, federal agents are seeing them. In the Yuma, Arizona sector alone, since October, they've had 450 instances of what they call fraudulent family units. In El Paso, Texas, Agent Ramiro Cordero has noticed it too.
We found cases where adults have been coming in with kids that are not their kids, yet they're claiming that they're their children. We found birth certificates that have been forged.
When agents in El Paso suspect something fishy, they send the questionable birth certificates to the Guatemalan consul in the city of Del Rio. Officials there check its authenticity with a database in Guatemala City. The Guatemalan consul, Ticandi Paniagua, says he's not aware of any recycled children.
En los últimos meses, pues hemos desafortunadamente detectado muchísimos documentos falsos.
Unfortunately, he says, the consulate has detected lots of fake identity documents.
Lots of fake identity documents. And, you know, in one instance, Duke, they could tell right away that the so-called father of this infant did not have any relationship to him because he showed up with this baby that he had no diapers for the baby.
Oh, yeah.
He had no bottle for the baby.
Wow.
He didn't know how to feed the baby.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, this is not his baby.
Mm-hmm.
And the assistant agent, Monica Maple, in charge of Homeland Security investigations in San Antonio, said that she has begun to explore whether these schemes are mostly a matter of illegal immigration or child exploitation.
Yeah.
And she said, is it a continuation of human smuggling? Is it worse, human trafficking? As an investigator, my mind is wide open. That's the quote from Miss Maple. So there is, I want to reiterate, an exploitation of children, unaccompanied children, children that are not with their real parents. And there are not just dozens, there are hundreds, if not thousands of these cases. This is, it's appalling. It's terrifying. We know that there is sexual exploitation of these children because we've already heard of one of the coyotes that took children from the Agape shelter in Tijuana. He was offering them a ticket across. He was offering them the passage into the United States in exchange for sex with minors traveling alone in many cases. This is why having fake activists, this is why having people that heretofore had never practiced immigration law, I'm looking at you, al otro lado, lawyers, and all of a sudden they're like, I'm doing immigration law now. When, you know, technically speaking, any lawyer from any state can do immigration law because it's federal law. However, the majority of lawyers that I know have been practicing that as their specialty their entire career. And the reason for that is because it is one of the most difficult types of law to practice, maybe other than tax law. That is why immigration lawyers are frequently expensive. And even then, they cannot give you promises of any kind of an outcome. Like you heard the man I interviewed in Tijuana say al otro lado lawyers had given him that he would get asylum. And this based off of only one question. Do you have American family members who are citizens in the United States? So I'm going to share this link to the Daily Caller article about the scandal with Native American leader Winona LaDuke. Winona LaDuke, much like the leadership of Al Otro Lado, was the fiscal agent under her nonprofit Honor the Earth, started by the Indigo Girls and vice presidential candidate of the Green Party along with Ralph Nader in 1992? Winona LaDuke. Was it 2? God,
No.
someone help me.
That was 2000, and it was also 96 in 2000.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. They did it twice?
Yeah.
Holy cow. How did they fool us twice? Remember, it says fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Oh man, she's good. Got to give her that. She is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
She has mad skills at continuously making people think that she's legit and that she's out in front of Indigenous issues as an Indigenous woman, putting Indigenous people first. I learned the hard way during the Standing Rock campaign that lasted for over a year that theatrical production that they put Indian faces like hers in front of and others like Chase Iron Eyes and Phyllis Young and LaDonna Allard. I learned the hard way that those women did not care about other Indigenous people, the earth, or anything else other than lining their pockets and making a name for themselves, gaining more power. And there's a lot of people in Indian country that will tell you the very same thing. There's a lot of that stuff coming out now. They're beginning to throw each other under the bus. And I am here for it. I am here to explore it. I am here to rattle the windows and look under the rug. Because it's about time that the people that produced Standing Rock and left North Dakota with the debt of over $30 million answer some hard questions about what they did and who was pulling the puppet strings. Who were they really doing it for? Wouldn't you like to know? Why were they really doing it? And what kind of chaos did they leave in their wake? Because they did, starting with the story of Kathleen Bennett, starting with the early death of Mary Trujillo, starting right there, and continuing in a long line of crimes, including violent crimes like rape, property destruction, arson, kidnapping, sexually assaulting minors, sexual harassment. I could go on. I've documented a lot of the crimes of these people on my shows. And I'm going to keep doing it. So let's go to the article, shall we? Here it is. It was in the Daily Caller, folks. I think I've shared the link with you here so that you guys can go check it out for yourselves and read the whole thing. I encourage you to do so. Why do I think that it is important for us to take a look at this? Because I know that Winona LaDuke would like people to not talk about it. Nobody to talk about it. But there's a lot of things that people want to talk to her about. And the post, I showed you this post. If we could just briefly show the Indian Problems post real quick, Duke, because I showed this to you on my last show. You know how I like to tie things together neatly from one show to the next.
Definitely.
The Indian Problem was saying, don't go read this article on the Daily Caller. There's a local Bismarck Tribune paper link that you can go read the details of this, or you can use this other don't click on it link that they created on Facebook where you can read the content of the article and not drive traffic to the Daily Caller, which they called a alt-right a page, and then they used an expletive to say what they thought of that page. And I thought it was bizarre. I was like, blink, 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 because I'm like, so you want people to read what the Daily Caller found, but you don't want to give credit or clicks to the Daily Caller's page, and you say F the alt-right publication, but not the content, because you're a white lady running an Indian-led Facebook titled page named The Indian Problem. Desiree Kane, one of the people in that privileged class of very, very wealthy people with connections to power and politics, somebody that worked directly with Bernie Sanders' campaign. And somebody that helped to orchestrate the shenanigans out at Standing Rock. And somebody that apparently, as recently as this week, was taking credit, putting herself out there. Once again, I told you, this woman started positioning herself, even though she's just a very privileged white lady in politics and one of those political wonks, to be in the forefront of the topic of immigration and writing about detention facilities and whatnot. Just came on the scene around 2015, and then I was like, why? Why did she do this? Why? Well, here's her post about the DHS. She says, this is May 7th, folks. My heart is singing. To be honest, I didn't organize an event or events with this photographers community for many years because I was healing from Standing Rock. Yes, she was so traumatized, staying in a yurt with Winnie Wong. Most of the time, I'm sure she spent at the casino, as I showed you, where she was also with Winnie Wong. Being casino warriors, actually keyboard warriors, living the life of pretending to get pepper sprayed and put in traumatic experiences as an Indian woman, a leader, so that you could take and usurp and erase the voices of real Lakota people from Standing Rock. But she won't tell you that. Interestingly, though, she has, been healing from Standing Rock now for over 2 years. She said that was the wrong move about her decision not to interact with the photographer community. The community of people I have here, the friends I know from here, these are my kind of weirdos. We're all the same kind of hule. It feels good. This lesson I am learning is that, I'd wager most people don't understand why in the name of journalism I'm willing to take pictures and get pepper sprayed repeatedly by police in Paris, or why I didn't just simply put down my camera and run away from the unprecedented violence of Standing Rock, or what's up with me taking my camera to the border and getting detained and personally searched by Department of Homeland Security while documenting the panties that litter the area in an effort to expose the horrific experiences women are willing to endure to return to their families because there is no pathway to citizenship. Photographers understand why. And then in post 2, she says, I can't put this put it into words. I am every day greatly impacted by the work of a man I was blessed enough to have been able to visit with, the late Stanley Green. I remember so vividly telling me the story of him documenting war, and he got shot in the hand as they were aiming to shoot his camera. He persisted. Now she's like that guy, Duke.
Oh, wow.
This is very graphic, but I hope you'll watch it.
Yeah.
And then she puts a video link.
Yeah.
I understood that day, some 5 years ago, that there were people like me willing to be the ones who might get their bodies jacked up in order to show what's truly happening in the world. They orchestrate these shows and then pretend it's a real movie.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even that good of an actress, Desiree. In fact, I don't know who told you are, but you're horrible. You were really that crying video where you wore brown face and said, I am an Indian woman. That's horrible acting.
Yeah.
Real Native people don't do that crap. Those who use their wealthy nation privilege to show the wealthy nations the true impact of their actions as they sit comfortably. She's talking about herself.
Yeah.
I pray for this understanding and really needed it. Glad to be back. It's so gross to me that this is a woman silencing and erasing the voices of real Native people that are one of the most affected by these issues, and supplanting them with her voice, her white lady voice. Not that there's anything wrong with having allies. Mexican Crossing Lines is hosted by two voices, me, Cindy Gomez-Schempp, and my husband,
Me,
Duke Gomez-Schempp.
Duke Commission.
And we're allies, but we're also partners in life, and we're in work, and we share the same values in terms of lifting up voices that are marginalized, be they poor working class people, people with disabilities, people of color, etc. I think these people are usurping those voices and silencing them and replacing them with their fake activism. And here is what the Daily Caller article says about Winona LaDuke and her lawsuit detailing serious allegations against the environmental group at the heart of the No Dapple pipeline, the pipeline, anti-pipeline movement in general, against all pipelines. An environmental group founded by Native American activist Winona LaDuke and Indigo Girls band members has been sued by a former employee for alleged sex discrimination and reprisal. The lawsuit claims Honor the Earth took no action to stop sexual harassment by a man credibly accused of using his status as a spiritual leader to commit sexual violence against Native boys. The man's inappropriate sexual behavior toward boys became an open secret in White Earth community, the lawsuit alleges. And let me tell you that this environmental group, Honor the Earth, has been at the heart of the anti-pipeline movement. And according to the lawsuit, its leadership silenced a former employee who reported being sexually harassed by a co-worker credibly accused of abusing young boys. They failed to take the accusations seriously, and they engaged in sex discrimination and reprisals against a former employee, Margaret Campbell. This was all filed Tuesday in a Minnesota state court. Instead of acting promptly to protect the community from this predator, Honor the Earth tried to silence Campbell to protect the organization's reputation instead. This organization was founded in 1993 by members of the Indigo Girls. Are those Native Americans? The
No.
Indigo Girls?
Well, maybe one. I don't know. I think they're both white ladies, from what I remember. One woman, maybe she has dark hair, but no.
How did a queer dyke band become the face of the Indigenous-led Honor the Earth group?
I don't know. They did concerts and raised money. They're raising money hand over fist. They sold out huge concerts, and then they did political activism at the concerts. So, they have you fill out a postcard and mail it in, or they'd mail it in for you, and do little things like that. And people felt like they were activists, and they were dealing with environmental issues that were affecting Indigenous communities because they went to an Indigo Girl concert and signed a postcard and paid $20 to get in. I'm an activist now.
I'm an activist now. Founded to focus the Native American environmental issues, Honor the Earth is at the heart of anti-fossil fuel activism. The group organizes tribal opposition. Tribal. Pay attention, folks, to these pipeline projects. But this was including the Dakota Access Pipeline. But here is the catch. Campbell, who worked at Honor the Earth for over 6 years, alleged co-worker Michael Dahl sexually harassed her in 2014 and in 2015. LaDuke and Honor the Earth board members dismissed Campbell's repeated pleas for help. In one instance, in the fall of 2014, Dahl allegedly asked Campbell in front of a group of environmental activists and funders, quote, "Who'd you F last night? You look like you've been effed, the lawsuit says.
Wow.
When Campbell told LaDuke, she dismissed the complaint and said that Dahl suffered from verbal Tourette's, quote unquote. The suit details a December 2014 encounter in Denver, Colorado, where Dahl approached with a phallic object in his pocket. Duke.
Wow.
Did he have a dildo in his pocket?
Sounds like it.
And he told Campbell, I have something for you. Gross.
Creepy.
That is creepy and spoopy.
Mm-hmm.
And Campbell told Honor the Earth board members about the incident, and they responded with, Queens will try to get away with that. You just have to learn to stand up for yourself.
Wow.
What? That is crazy. Gender Justice, a nonprofit legal advocacy group, filed suit on Campbell's behalf. Also, this lawsuit alleges that Michael Dahl was involved in a youth organizing, despite it being very credible accusations against him that he was using his status, Duke, his position given to him, elevated by Honor the Earth and Winona LaDuke, so that he could commit sexual violence against Native American children.
Wow.
This is not just some, they were mishandling money. No. This is deeper. In 2015, at a meeting with fellow tribal activists, Campbell and LaDuke learned that Michael Dahl had been accused of abusing a 15-year-old boy by his mother. At a 2012 ceremony, one of their ceremonies, on the White Earth Reservation. He was abusing his role as a spiritual leader to abuse boys during ceremony. How is this different than, like, pedophile Catholic priests? Huh, Duke?
Yeah, exactly. It's not.
Quote, this is from the complaint. Dahl's inappropriate sexual behavior toward boys became an open secret in the White Earth community. Campbell's complaints also mentioned a horseback ride in 2014, a horseback ride in the fall of that year, where Dahl allegedly joked about sharing a tent with two young men, including talking about giving boys a hand job. Can I say that?
Yep, sure can.
LaDuke was on the horseback ride. This is all in the complaint that has been filed against LaDuke's organization and her, Honor the Earth. A Minnesota court sentenced Michael Dahl to 18 days in jail time in 2018. This was not a long time ago, folks. This is since Standing Rock. For, quote, letting 3 horses die of starvation, exposure, and neglect. This is according to the Brainerd Dispatch. The link is included in the article in the Daily Caller. Michael Dahl's felony conviction can be lowered to a misdemeanor if he completes 4 years of supervised probation. What do you think of that?
Well,
it seems like he's getting away.
Definitely. And we actually were down there just a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's only 50 miles from here. The White Earth is only 50 miles from.
Oh, I know, it's pretty close.
And we're so
close.
We went to McGeezy Radio and the building where where Honor the Earth works out of. We sat in a meeting with representatives from Honor the Earth. Yep. As well as the White Earth Land Recovery Project. And I noticed this tension.
I ran into Winona there.
Yeah, Winona was there to do a radio show.
Mm-hmm.
And she's always been pretty hostile to us, since Standing Rock,
Well, she took her picture with me that day.
Yeah, but still. Hold on, let me mute that, please. So anyways, I just noticed a tension. There was tension between people because Winona also ran the White Earth Land Recovery Project, too, which is another organization not mentioned in this lawsuit. But I noticed that people were bantering back and forth about stuff. And I thought, what's going on? It seems really tense around here. And this was basically during this time period. This is a year and a half ago, which would have been 16, 17, halfway into close to 2017. So I'm trying to remember. I remember this doll guy, because I remember there were representatives from Honor the Earth there. And I noticed there was this white leadership from Honor the Earth.
I know.
Where'd the white people come from to run Honor the Earth? It was Indigenous, people's organization, environmental organization. And so, I left with questions, but I actually didn't get into it. But this article.
It was very hostile in that environment.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Did you feel like you could ask questions in
No,
that
not at
meeting?
all. No. And it was a meeting. We were meeting with funders.
I know.
So you got to kind of watch yourself, that you
Didn't
have
they
people.
get into a fight?
Yeah, there was Bob Schempp was yelling about Winona LaDuke and her stealing money right there at the table, and we're talking to funders.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, and Bob Schempp took over White Earth Land Recovery Project, so he's cleaning up Winona's mess. So I remember he was pretty mad.
Yeah, he was really, really mad, and he outed her right there in front of the funders. It was like, Winona LaDuke is a thief. And I was like, oh, my God. Anyway, it went something like that, didn't it, Duke?
Oh, yeah.
So we knew that all was not well. I didn't know it was this bad, though. I had no idea there was lawsuits involving people that are accused of child molesting,
exactly.
pedophilia, and Honor the Earth covering that stuff up. Isn't this Indigo Girl supposed to be at least a feminist organization, pro-women, pro-protection of children from sexual assault and
of
such?
Course. Mm-hmm.
How does this pass muster under an organization called Honor the Earth?
Yeah.
Honor the Earth put Campbell on in February 2015, claiming that she violated confidentiality by discussing her complaint about Michael Dahl with a Native American activist outside of their group. Honor the Earth, however, has no confidentiality policies. But that doesn't mean that they didn't take a retaliation against Campbell because of their so-called feeling of, betrayal. And so she resigned soon after that, but she alleged that Winona LaDuke used her influence in the environmental movement, and boy, does she have some, to keep her from getting employed anywhere else, Duke.
Wow.
How unethical is that?
Exactly.
Doesn't that violate employment laws?
Well, yeah.
That violates. Did you file a claim with the EEOC? Just saying, I have questions because I think you could, and the Department of Labor, based on what you're saying you have proof of in this complaint. The lawsuit also says that LaDuke personally stepped in to keep Campbell from being hired at the organization 350.org, Bill
really?
McKibben's organization. One of the most important prominent anti-pipeline groups in America. They were also at Standing Rock. Okay, guys, this is some heavy stuff. How is the community talking about this? What are people saying besides Desiree Kane? Let's look. Here is the post about Honor the Earth and their lack of honor. Duke, would you like to read it, please, for me?
Yep. Let's have a look here. The Indian Problem is posted by the Indian Problem.
There is no honor.
There is no honor
With
Honor the Earth. This doesn't even include when their employee coordinated the gang-style sexual assault of non-Indian women on the front lines. The guy in jail for those horse torture. The molestation of boys on Winona's hemp farm. The sexual harassment lawsuits. The taking of money from folks who need it to run for their lives from police at Standing Rock. So her and her minions could all just roll around in that massive tour bus. Tell us, Winona, how much did the rubber bullets that hit each of us make you? $1,000? $2,000? Water protectors. Did you go out there so Winona would be a millionaire? Red Warrior Camp was the Honor the Earth at camp at Standing Rock, and hundreds of thousands of dollars were missing, either not being used for no DAPL, legal protection of people who need it, and sent to Line 3 despite it being raised for no DAPL. legal, and people
For
facing
no DAPL legal,
right,
and
for
people
no DAPL,
facing a decade or more.
and people facing a decade or more, just so Winona can enjoy life in her big house on the res, while her own people suffer around her bleeping struggling. Bleep you, Winona LaDuke, and bleep your little two-braided whatever you want to call her too.
And there's a bunch of Instagram posts from an account called, I think it's reposted. We'll have to look at it more closely here. Here's the next slide talking about Winona LaDuke being, it says Earth Dishonored. I believe that's Instagram, folks.
All right.
And it's talking about Winona LaDuke and what she really is. And it says Winona LaDuke is and has been a politician. Honor the Earth abuses Indigenous staff in order to serve and appease white liberals and keep up the image of being an Indigenous-led operation instead of what it really is, a front for white liberals to own and possess Native struggles and narratives. Thank you. Other people are seeing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who this person is on Instagram that said this, but I've been saying this for a while. But you know why I say this? Because I've heard other people say it. And here we are seeing more evidence of the fact that there is something that does not pass the smell test.
Mm-hmm.
Next, this slide called Honor the Earth in 2019. It says, if you're still supporting Honor the Earth in 2019, you gots to go. So, throwing more shade. And the next one is talking about the kind of chilling effect that talking about this stuff has on folks. You can see there's some other kind of beneath Earth Dishonored at the very top. There's another man pray PRY at OWIN. MANPRY at OWIN looks like is the original poster on Instagram, or I don't know. I don't know how they produced this image that they posted on the Indian Problems page, where they were talking about this article in the Daily Caller and the people that these accounts come from. I don't know how they're connected to, or if these are shared from these accounts or just reshared from someone else's. But they are talking about the fear factor with Winona LaDuke. There's also a lot of people in Indian country, it says, that do know the truth and have spoken to me about their experiences. And most people are afraid to speak out because of how big, controlling they are. But it is doing more harm than good for me to keep quiet. What do you think about that, dude?
Well, it's obvious that the people basically are being held hostage in the organization, and then not going along, and being forced to not expose what's going on. That's what I see. A lot of retaliation going on if you want to keep your job, and not to be able to be employed in the environmental organizations in this country, because the Honor the Earth is a really big one, because they handle so much money. I mean, the big money organizations that hand out money, they have the cred. They have the cred, and any issues, they're always going to be having open doors to them. So if they close the doors, they're going to be closed really hard.
I had a source inside of Honor the Earth, Freshet, the legal collective people, that told me that Winona LaDuke specifically continued to authorize for months after his departure the payment of thousands of dollars per month to an activist that, according to her, the woman that was giving me the information, didn't do anything for Honor the Earth or for Water Protectors or for the legal collective or Freshet. That he hadn't been doing anything for months, and that she authorized when they stopped payment to him for some reason. She said, keep giving him his money. Keep giving him his money.
Yeah.
And they were like, but why? Why? Did they make some kind of an agreement? Is she paying him off? And this next slide talks about what their experience was, this worker's experience that is posting about this on Instagram. I worked for them officially for about a year and was doing free labor for their white employees for about another year. Throughout the duration of working for them, almost every single Indigenous woman that worked for them had either been fired by Winona or quit because of how evil she is and how she puts white employees before her Indian employees. What do you think about that, Duke?
Well,
so this is the allegation they're making, that they're putting white liberal leadership in front of what should be the Indigenous people leading this organization, running it. What do you think?
Well, again, it's showing the retaliation and the control, and it explains the tension we saw only having a glimpse of being there for like one afternoon, and also just kind of looking back at who stayed on there for a long time and was a visual face. You're going to show her in a little bit in the program, but there are key people who are out in the front, especially at Standing Rock. Were connected to the money, and they kept their jobs, and they went on to other jobs, These people weren't playing ball.
One of our local legislators, Ruth Ann Buffalo, used to work for her.
That's right.
Or maybe still does. I don't know.
I think so.
Wonder what she thinks about all of this. Anyway, it says in this next slide by this person making allegations about the workers, from the workers, other people that worked for Honor the Earth. I've seen numerous Indigenous women, literally cry because of how terrible Winona LaDuke treats Indian women. She treats her employees like slaves and withholds their pay illegally unless they do what she wants. That's definitely a violation of the law, labor laws.
Oh yeah.
You can't withhold. You know that, right?
Oh, definitely. You can't withhold someone's pay, and if you try to make them do something else, it's like no, it just doesn't work that way. But again, she's getting away with it, and also remember where they're out in Whitehorse Reservation in a very rural area in Callaway. It has like one road going through it, and it's but they're
ripe
but they're in a building full of organizations. They have the Toxic Tater Coalition is there.
Yeah.
They have McGeezy Radio there.
Yep.
I mean, there's a bunch of people and a lot of activity there in that building, that old schoolhouse that
it fluctuates.
But it's like, but they're still pretty isolated.
Yeah, they are. And I think that that isolation makes people vulnerable. Remember that Winona LaDuke, who was promoted by O.J. Pitaya Queen, the same person that is also being accused of trafficking children, these folks tend to end up in situations like this where they're being accused of exploiting people, vulnerable people, and doing horrible things to kids. And, that's why I think we need to look at who's involved in the leadership, especially in the Indigenous leadership, and the funding that is behind the leadership of these lawyers groups, of these environmental groups around the caravan issue. Because make no mistake about it, Winona LaDuke was just hanging out with Sophia Wolanski and Doug McLean, and they are inserting themselves into the caravan issue. These very same people being accused right now. So pay attention. When Honor the Earth created a cultural impact survey for Line 3, the 5 intervening tribes literally denied it because of the lack of traditional knowledge Honor the Earth has about these people's lands and its people. Because they are run by white employees, yet claim to be an Indigenous organization. It's a problem, folks. I've told you. It's a problem. AstroTurfing issues and using white folks passing themselves off as Indians or putting natives that are not the most affected into the mix. The next slide on the Indian Problems post about this Honor the Earth scandal is the most of the stories about the trauma and abuse that I have seen Winona and her organization do to people are not mine to tell. So I will not tell them. But you all deserve to know who you can trust as things in the Line 3 fight start heating up this spring and summer. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So then they come the comments on the post. And I'm not going to show you all the comments, folks, but I just wanted to share some that were interesting. This first one is about the dead horses, and it actually has a picture of the horses that this guy was charged with starving to death.
Wow.
It says the Indian Problem comments, this isn't how we honor the horse nation after their ride with us against pipelines. They let them just die.
Wow.
So they go on these horse rides all the time, you know. They
Mm-hmm.
use those horses as props. And this is how they treat them.
Wow.
Boy, you can really tell. By how you treat the least of these among you, you can really tell what kind of people they are. Because if you would do this to horses, dear God, what are you capable of doing to people?
Yeah.
It's disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Here is something that someone shot back at Desiree Kane. These are people that obviously disagree with this being aired, the dirty laundry being repeated, not aired. The Daily Caller did the investigation, but even repeated on a page that's promoting Indian people's issues.
Yeah.
The Indian problem.
Mm-hmm.
A person named Michelle McQuaid says, I'm not debating. I'm just calling you out for what you are. And a person named Marsha Warren says to Desiree Kane, or the Indian Problem, whoever is posting this, I bet it's Desiree Kane.
Yeah.
She did not do this, referring to Winona LaDuke. She kicked the guy off her program. Winona LaDuke kicked Michael Dahl off their program, whatever that means, that did this. Don't start rumors you don't know about. I live 5 miles from where these horses died. And Lorna Haynes, these are all allegations that are in the complaint and in the story in the Daily Caller.
Yeah.
So if they're rumors, then they wouldn't have been able to get into a court. Unless we hear that the judge threw this out, but I heard that it's filed. So it's, from what I can tell, it's going forward at least. And another woman who's angry that Desiree Kane is talking about this rips her a new one, saying, you're an evil, ugly, white beep. Lorna says, running under a Native organization, the Indian Problem, that lies about being raped and that has the whole world laughing at her and calls her Loser Kane instead of Desiree Kane. And so, you know, takes one to know one, she's basically saying. At least Winona's actually a Native American. I mean, yes, maybe a sold out one, but and one that abuses her privilege and doesn't use it to help her people like she claims while raking in millions of dollars. But, you know, that's just what they're alleging in these complaints and these posts, and that she mistreats people and puts white privilege, white issues, white people, white liberals first. That's what this organization, that's what some of these organizations I have claimed are really doing. A person on Instagram named _Raphael at CF states his opinion, also posted under the Indian Problem, that it took him a while to have the courage to post about what many of those are sharing, that because he was told that this would hurt the movement. How many times have we heard that BS?
We hear it all the time.
Stop talking about Kathleen Bennett's case. You're hurting the movement. But what is the movement if those we look up to are the same ones handing the noose to our youth, says Raphael CF. Good point. Good point. Yes, when you put the people that are the least skilled in protecting these folks because they are exploiters themselves. Then Raphael CF posts a meme that reads housing abusers, and it's a picture of Winona LaDuke, by the way, wearing war paint on her face at a podium at a microphone in front of a Dakota Access Pipeline banner. Housing abusers and letting them be in the presence of minors, in which Anthony continued to molest more people and young boys under her roof. Dang, Duke.
Yeah.
So this is on her hemp farm, according to the Indian Problem. They seem to know a whole lot about it.
Yep.
Always in these call-outs, you later find out that people like the Indian Problem and Desiree Kane knew all along that these people were committing crimes against vulnerable people, and they said nothing about it either. But now that the Daily Caller has talked about it, now they're going to point fingers and go, we told you long ago. They didn't. Y'all were comfortably quiet for too long. We'll tell you what Anthony in a second. His name is Anthony Soul. Here it is in the next Raphael CF post. Appreciate your work in the past. He's saying this about the pictured woman who is Winona LaDuke. But this is inexcusable. We're holding you accountable. #MeToo. Then below it says, not my hero. Winona LaDuke hid Anthony Soul. Someone who tried taking advantage and attempted molesting me while I was sleeping. This encounter was when I first started getting into the activist community. Hey, welcome to the activist community. Can I molest you? Can I sexually assault you? Do you know how often we heard this was happening at Standing Rock, and now that it is happening to the children in the caravan? To people in the caravan? This is distressing, but there is a pattern, folks. It goes on. Winona hid him on her hemp farm, and the man ended up molesting more people, including a minor. Thanks, Winona.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of, that kind of a tone in the post. I'll read the next one here. These are comments about the posts on these memes. A person named Minnie Macaroni says, Winona has several properties. I'm glad to see someone else call her out. Honor the Earth took $3 million that year, claimed during Dakota Access Pipeline, the most of any year. Remember when she needed more money to buy her hemp farm? Funny, she didn't say she already owned that hemp farm. And then it posts some financial post there, a little financial. And in the next one, you can actually see the valuation, taxation statement here for Winona LaDuke Kapashisit. What does that tell you, Duke?
Tells me the address of the owner.
Yeah.
And the valuation, the tax assessment and values 2018, 17, and 16. It goes up quite a bit to $500,000 in 2018. The land value is pretty much the same, 113 to 108,000. So basically, the value is over $500,000 for all 3 years.
Dang, Duke. That is a lot, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
And according to the person that made that comment, during DAPL, which was 2016, they took in the most they'd made any year.
Yeah.
Now, the person that made that those memes on Instagram, Raphael CF, is this Raphael Clark Faust. And he makes more comments on the Indian Problems post and thanks them for, I guess, spreading the, memes and information about what he accuses them of, and says, "Thank you for spreading this. How many lives have to be ruined before something happens? How many lives, have to be ruined before something happens?" I feel like tarnishing her reputation is a totally viable way that she needs to be held accountable, along with the abusers that she has supported along the way. And the Indian Problem responds, "Raphael, someone has to take a stand. Clearly, people don't know how she fights proxy wars against people. She's really actually a dangerous person to criticize." And that these kinds of situations where we have to name hurt and active harm are actually one of the only ways to have any sort of safety. And another woman at the bottom says she smells a witch hunt and lateral oppression.
Oh, yeah.
And that the post is very concerning to her on so many levels because Winona continues to do work for Indians.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's concerning that she continues to do work for Indians too.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Raphael talks about Mr. Sewell. And he says, "It isn't lies or fake news. Winona has hit abusers on her ranch and even adopted a young boy who was assaulted repeatedly by the same man, Arthur Sewell. Over a period of time, she kicked him out and then invited him back, which is disgusting. He has done this to manipulate multiple people, including myself. You can live in denial all you want, but some shady shiz is going on here." To which the Indian Problem replies, "Raphael, you have our full support. You coming forward is very brave, and you will be defended here." Then Natalia Garcia says, "It's not lies. I have a witness to what Raphael Clark Faust speaks on. Respect the youth." And someone else says, "Speak the truth, proud strength, blah, blah, blah." Next, we've got Honor the Earth being accused of in addition to raising money for the legal collective, for their nonprofit, and for the treaty, Fort Laramie Treaty. And it says, could you read that one, Duke?
Didn't Honor the Earth raise money on the Treaty of Fort Laramie during the No DAPL 2, and not 1 cent of that money went to any of the signatory tribes from that treaty? And Tia Morales says, that's the word. Tia Morales says, Honor the Earth has...
No. The Indian Problem replies to Tia Morales saying, that's the word. And the Indian Problem, which is run by Desiree Kane, we know that her boyfriend, Remy Frendenberg, a Navajo, told me that she took over their pages.
Okay.
So she basically AstroTurfed the page for Indian issues and put her white face behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Go on, honey.
Oh, that one's done. Then Renee Van Hofwagen says, Tia Morales, if Honor the Earth has obligatory profits to its promise, then it'll probably go to the organization that is putting the work into it. If their tribe wants profits, they can raise money also. We're not trying to raise and spend money on individual tribes, but the bigger system that jeopardizes our way of living.
Okay, and let me just remind everyone that Winona LaDuke, who's now being accused of adopting a little boy that was abused by Anthony Sewell and then inviting Anthony Sewell back, a man that she was aware had been accused by credible sources, including children that had been abused, of abusing children, molesting children, and that he's done it to a whole bunch of children, and that she continued to hide him, has been supported by someone who's been accused of sexually trafficking children, unaccompanied queer minors in Tijuana, Pitaya Queen. Here's her post, just as a reminder, of Pitaya Queen promoting LaDonna in September of 2016 during the Standing Rock situation, and saying the fossil fuel industries equals violence and abuse. So this is activism in the style of climate activists and protectors of the earth. But in reality, what they're hiding is all of the exploitation that goes on and the defrauding that goes on. Here is another post of Winona with Pitaya Queen that shows you, this is from the Friends list. In this particular one, if you look at the very top, you'll see that this is a search. You have to go all the way to the very top so that you can see that this is a search on Facebook on Pitaya Queen's friend list to see what friends we have in common.
Okay.
And I think her friends list might have been unavailable, but I could see mutual friends. And if you scroll down, you will see that Winona LaDuke is one of her friends. There's Winona LaDuke. So don't think that she was randomly just posting things of Pitaya Queens. Pitaya Queen doesn't even know Winona. They're friends on Facebook. Also, she's friends with Doug McLean, who was down there, who was a Santa Claus at the shelter, who was questioned also by Homeland Security, just as Desiree Kane apparently was, as she has posted about tonight.
Wow.
Going to the border, taking pictures, getting herself questioned and investigated by Homeland Security. Well, so has Doug McLean. Hey, Homeland Security, if you're listening, have you investigated Winona LaDuke?
Yeah.
Have you investigated these Native leaders? Because there is some smelly stuff going on in Denmark, and it smells of human trafficking of children. I'm just saying. Here's another picture I showed you before that includes Sophia Wilansky, the woman that accused Morton County of blowing up her arm, along with Doug McLean.
Yep.
And there's a guy. If you blow up the names a little bit more so you can see, they're talking about her hemp farm right here. And it says that their first united Lenape Nation Powwow Standing Ground Symposium that took place in November of last year. This was practically right after the caravans had started. He says, an honor to know and stand with these friends and Earth Guardians, fellow Earth Guardians. Love and respect to my sister, Sophia Wilansky. And he posts Wilansky support page, tags that page, then also tags Winona LaDuke and Winona LaDuke's Hemp and Heritage Farm, the same farm that this lawsuit claims children were being sexually abused on. Winona's Hemp and Heritage Farm. And here's another little reminder. Here's another picture of the people out there involved with Honor the Earth. One of them is Tara Houska, the lawyer for the Water Protector Legal Collective. Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
The Water Protector Legal Collective raised money for the attorneys, and Freshet raised money for legal support and attorneys. And Tara Houska and Water Protector Legal Collective were working basically with each other, funding whoever the hell they wanted, and ignoring the people they didn't want to help, and basically getting everyone in the end to plead guilty and keep the money.
Wow.
Here is what Tara Houska tweeted about the Nathan Phillips hoax she was also involved with. Look what these people do at the Indigenous Peoples March. Tara Houska was involved with Chase Iron Eyes and many others that I pointed out to you that were from Standing Rock in the hoax to allege that the Covington Catholic School kids had committed a hate crime against Nathan Phillips while chanting "Build the Wall." They didn't even say these things, but it doesn't matter. Tara Houska is down to lie for her Native American fellow fakers, pseudo activists, and people that lie about their service in Vietnam. Nathan Phillips.
Yep.
Saying Nathan's grace and calm is incredible. Prayers up for this man and for all of those across Turtle Island who defiantly stand up against hatred and speak the truth unafraid for the generations yet to come.
Yeah.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. Hey, didn't Tara Houska go with Chase Iron Eyes also to Israel? And the group of people that included Linda Sarsour, one of the leaders of the Women's March, that had two members of their group, one of which was a university professor and the other of which I believe was a lawyer, thrown in the clink, investigated, detained for more than 24 hours, and then deported and told they couldn't come back to Israel ever for showing up with people connected to a terrorist organization. Yeah, I believe so. If you go over, this was 2019, January of 2019. If you go over to the right on this tweet, you will see, no, the other right, honey, my right. And then scroll down all the way to the bottom of this post. You'll see that it says that Tara Houska is Ojibwe, an attorney, a director at Honor the Earth. Director. Advisor at Bernie Sanders. Don't forget that she's very heavily involved with Bernie Sanders' campaign.
Yeah.
You keep seeing that. You notice that?
Yep.
And she's also co-founder of, what does it say there? Co-founder of, dang it, I can't read it because it got cut off.
Yep.
But the important things I wanted you to see was the Bernie Sanders and Director of Honor the Earth. Director of Honor the Earth. I hope you all are paying attention. After this tweet, by the way, she's also noted to be Bernie Sanders' advisor on Native American affairs. That's one of the ways that she was listed as being part of his campaign. Winona LaDuke made a response to all of these things publicly, guys.
Really?
Yes, this is what she had to say about what Desiree Kane and the... Mind you, she did not address the fact that the Daily Caller broke the story and that she is being sued. No. Instead, she focuses on the Indian problem, talking about it.
Really? That's so strange.
Yeah, she's like, I believe that we should keep a good mind and good words. That's not always the case on Facebook. I see a lot of people who hide behind their keyboards, saying a lot of mean things out of cowardice. Please don't hide your name behind Indian problem. That's Desiree Kane. She's sort of a provocateur who came out of Standing Rock and hijacked that website. Met her once. No idea why she hates me. Or maybe it's someone called Pequot Beep who has a lot of mean things to say too. Hold your head up. Use your name. I do. Oh my God, how old is Winona LaDuke?
That's right.
Talking like this.
Yep.
She sounds like she's in a high school spat in the schoolyard. She goes on. I notice a few people have a lot of mean things to say about me and my work. I'm accusing you and suing you for being involved in covering up sexual harassment and child abuse
is not your work.
Not mean things. Those are serious allegations. And her family and her organization, sort of sad. Here's my thinking. For those who are interested, I'm going to host a healing and reconciliation circle. I'll do this in California or in Minnesota. I'll help make it happen. Inbox me. And I'll work with the matriarchs who want to help talk about how we get well. There are people all around us who need healing. And just to say, there are a lot of people I work with at Honor the Earth. Most of us work 70 hours plus a week for Mother Earth. For 6 years, we've stopped Enbridge, the largest pipeline corporation in the world and the third largest corporation in Canada. We need to work together for our water. How did this turn into the water pipeline fight post?
Yep, exactly.
You're being accused of housing a sexual abuser, a pedo on your hemp farm.
Yep, and allowing it to go on.
And retaliating against the worker
Who reports it.
that reported abuse to you on the workplace.
Yep.
Repeatedly. What does this have to do about the pipeline or the water? She goes on, and please don't be harmful to my hard-working staff. They work really hard and have good hearts. Who, like Tara Houska? Your comments on Facebook affect us all. I think that restoring peace is better than lateral oppression. And similarly, if some people would like to talk about how they feel I have treated them, I'm open to listening. Happy to set up a circle if you've got things to say about me. Here in Minnesota would be fine. Facebook allegations aren't really the way to go. It's an article in the Daily Caller, and it has citations. Good mind and good heart is a lot better. Love and respect. In the meantime, I'm going to plant my seeds and crops because it's time to plant food and hope. Oh my God, I feel like that was an Obama commercial. Was that an Obama commercial?
I think so.
And so there were, that was her response. When they go high, plant some seeds.
That's right.
When they go low, sorry. That's her Michelle Obama version. When they go low, we plant seeds of hope. You know, because she's a farmer.
Yep.
Anyway, here are some other Facebook allegations from other different sources about Honor the Earth I thought we should talk about and that I think you should hear. Kevin Ducalo posted on Not Me, Us, Bernie 2020 on October 2017, 2 years ago, saying that Bernie's cabinet nominees, the Department of Justice Executive Office for the U.S. Attorney Tara Houska, saying Tara Houska had been involved in a dizzying number of efforts. I know.
Yep.
No bueno came of it. The tribal rights attorney, it goes on, is the national campaign director for the Indigenous-led environmental justice organization, Honor the Earth. She served as advisor on Native American issues for Bernie Sanders' campaign. She co-founded Not Your Mascots to fight the appropriation of Indigenous culture and protested the Dakota Access Pipeline at the Standing Rock Indian Reservation. Her work embodies the notion that we can't treat environmental and social injustice separately. These issues indicate race, economic disparity, and income inequality. You don't see a pipeline going through Beverly Hills. No, Beverly Hills came to the pipeline.
Exactly.
Thanks, Desiree Kane. Thanks, LaDuke, because, you know, she went to Harvard.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping that issue of justice at the forefront is really important to me in everything I do. Houska, a citizen of the Kuchishing First Nation, grew up in an international It grew up in International Falls, Minnesota, across from the Canadian border from the tribe's reservation. While working at a D.C. law firm in 2014, she protested the Keystone Pipeline and organized efforts to rename Washington's NFL team. The mascot movement showed me the power of extremely marginalized voices coming together to be heard. And to give you more background of this glowing piece of information posted on Facebook about Honor the Earth, Winona LaDuke, and Tara Houska. It goes on to say, in February of 2016, Houska joined Honor the Earth, where she worked with noted environmentalist Winona LaDuke on the Dakota Access and other issues, quoting, "It's a long way from practicing law in D.C. to protect yourself with a car mat against rubber bullets and mace," LaDuke said. Tara stood up for our people. Recently, most of Houska's efforts have gone toward building a support network to defend the nearly 700 protesters who've been detained and arrested at Standing Rock, as well as divesting from banks that fund the pipeline. Oh, you mean like divest LA, ban exit, groups and organizations that you guys are associated to and work with, that run the pages, that ran those, movements like Tim, what was his name? Tim Waltz?
Sounds right.
Walsh? And also, again, white dude, non-Indigenous, Madeline Kelly Merritt, who started Activate Now. Lead correspondent Ed Higgins here.
Yeah.
Yes, that same cluster of people. Houska said it was huge for the environmental movement because people all looked to Standing Rock like, what's happening? This is police brutality at the hands of the state over the creation of a pipeline. One of the best ways to help those protesters, according to Houska, is for you to donate to the legal fund Freshet Collective. Okay? The Freshet Collective. How you judge your most vulnerable citizens. I can't believe she actually wrote this.
Yeah.
How you judge your most vulnerable citizens is how we should all be judged. Like the way that you guys all judged Kathleen Bennett and the way that you left her mother to die.
Yeah.
You at these legal groups that refused to help her when you knew that the people that you were working with had framed her. You should be ashamed of yourselves, all of you, for your disgusting behavior. And apparently, it takes suing you and your organization for you to get your comeuppance for what you've done. You and organizations that funded these legal groups. Tara Houska also, in this post, talking about her by Gary Van Kirk in April of 2017, gives you a little bit more background where she is described as a lawyer with standing with Indigenous activists. I think she's an activist herself. She was one of the lead activists within the Red Warrior camp that caused so many problems at Standing Rock that were in the end thrown out of Standing Rock. On February 23rd, the Army Corps of Engineers cleared out Ocheti-Sakowin, an encampment of activists attempting to block construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline. The police arrested over 50 people. But the Freshet Collective, an organization that connects demonstrators with legal resources, was ready. From August to February, Tara Houska made Morton County, North Dakota, her home base. She stood at the front lines and worked with the Freshet Collective to connect Dakota Access demonstrators facing charges with legal support they needed, except for Kathleen Bennett. Except for the people who they themselves framed for crimes and left to die in a hospital. Like Mary Trujillo. except for those people. Says that she engages in activism herself alongside Indigenous communities, and that she advocates through Honor the Earth. Her work has brought her to the halls of Congress to lobby for Indigenous rights, to divestment rallies, and to the Bernie Sanders campaign, where she was the advisor on Native American affairs. And so Tara also sits on the board of the Freshet Collective. It's important for you to know her complete involvement.
Mm-hmm.
Ellen Zoe Holden Hadley posted, Tara is the tribal attorney, water protector, national campaign director of Honor the Earth, co-founder of Not Your Mascots, former advisor to Bernie Sanders campaign, and sits on the board of the Freshet Collective. Just like Washday Wee Young, Phyllis Young's daughter, one of the people working directly with the folks that framed Kathleen Bennett, like Mulaney Stoneman and the kingpin, what was her name, Duke? Christina Hollenbeck. They knew what was happening because they were involved directly working with the people that framed this innocent woman. That's how I know that they weren't going to help Kathleen Bennett, but I did ask.
Yeah.
I asked, and they asked, and she asked. A lot of people asked, and they repeatedly said no. And this woman was sitting on that board.
Plus they lie. That whole stuff they said about what the Freshet did is a lie. I picked up 75 people from jail that the water collector of the WPLC, Water Protector Legal Collective, bailed out at maybe $200 to $300 a person, but they were instructed, get a public defender. They weren't paying legal bills of anybody. In fact, I was given the paperwork to give to people. You know, we did a jail support network for 3 months, picking up water protectors that were jailed and then being released from jail, and we got them back to camp. The Freshet and Water Protector Legal Collective fronted money that they got back, and most of those people took guilty pleas. They took plea deals and agreed to, a period of time where they can't go to protests, but pretty much in a year the record would be expunged. All that money went back to the Freshet Collective. So, this whole idea that they were out there hiring attorneys and fighting they did that in a few cases, of course, ones that they wanted to get in the newspaper to make it look like they were doing a bunch of legal work, and then they would raise more money on it. I met so many suckers I know a guy that was dying of brain cancer gave his last $15 to them, and I was like, oh, that's too bad. That was a waste of your last $15. And he's like, what? He's like, what? It's like, yeah, these guys are dirty, and they're raising millions of dollars, and they're not representing the people. They're setting the people up. So when I read that the Freshet did this, and she was in Morton County for all this time she's running a money laundering campaign is what she was doing.
There is a special place in hell for these people.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Because they're taking money from people who are vulnerable, taking money from people whose heartstrings are pulled, who are, they have a conscience, that want to do right, and they're using it in the most horrible ways. I've told you they're not real leaders. They're not real activists of the movement. They don't represent the people. And I'm giving you the statements from the people out there themselves that are calling these folks on the carpet. And I'm showing you what their responses are in public. And the Sacred Stone Legal Defense Fund. Is that the next one?
I'm confused. I'm lost.
Are you lost?
Scene 11.
Is that where we are?
I thought there was a Donate to Freshet Collective one.
Okay. I kind of lost my place too.
Okay, let's go. We're in slide 10. Yep.
So,
this is where we're supposed to be.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Honor the Earth posted their fundraiser for the Freshet Collective with the bit.ly link there.
Mm-hmm.
So you can donate. And if you click on it, by the way, they were talking about a special event,
Mm-hmm.
and there's art and activism It says #resist is dedicated to celebrating the resistance across our country and coming together to stand up for our brothers and sisters against injustice and white supremacy.
Okay.
The first #resist event will focus on raising funds for the Freshet Collective to support water protectors and celebrating Native American art and culture. So when you click on it, it takes you to the Sacred Stone Legal Defense Fund.
Okay.
It doesn't say Freshet.
Interesting.
Click on it. This is what it shows you. No, that's still the other slide. You have to go to the next slide, which is the Sacred Stone Legal Defense Fund.
Okay, gotcha.
Do you see where it says Freshet?
No.
I don't see no Freshet on here. But if you saw the bottom there, it said donate to the Freshet down there.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you see that?
Oh, yeah.
This is clearly the Sacred Stone Legal Defense Fund,
Mm-hmm.
not the Freshet. What does it say down at the bottom? Maybe it says more stuff at the bottom on the Sacred Stone Legal Defense Fund.
Let's have a look.
About whether or not this has anything to do with Freshet. Horse, you can see the bones on that horse. Look at the horse. Look at the horse's bones.
Oh.
You can see its rib cage. You can see the backbone.
Yeah.
Wow. Wonder if that was one of the forces that they starved to death.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know that stuff was going on out there
No.
at Standing Rock, did you? We're committed to fighting for Indigenous rights and environmental justice. To date, North Dakota has brought over 800 cases against water protectors, taking a stand against the Dakota Access Pipeline. Right?
Yep.
So, what happened there? Are you done? What's going on?
There.
What's happening?
It's right where it was.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, here they're bragging about the fact. Notice this, Duke. They said that there are charges of the people of these 800 cases they're raising money for. By the way, folks, at the time that this screen capture was taken, they'd raised $5,022. But what they're saying here is that the cases that they're going to defend ranged from misdemeanor trespass charges to felonies for inciting riots and in engaging in unarmed resistance. Their spendings to date, according to this post, was $500,000 on bail alone. But as you pointed out, they got all of that money back.
Yeah.
All of it. They didn't spend it. It didn't go away. It didn't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we finally shamed them into paying, well, not only shamed them, they wanted to get involved in Kathleen's case so badly, they figured that they'd pay the bail so that they could get access to her lawyer. But no, didn't work out.
And they got their $10,000 back.
And they got their $10,000 back because all the charges were dropped against Kathleen Bennett and she was released. Anywho, Freshet is mentioned here finally.
Yeah.
And it says, for the Freshet has contracted a team of court support, attorneys, anti-repression, and legal support. We pay for travel. What the hell is that? Anti-repression, Duke.
I don't know.
How do you hire an anti-repression? Or contract with an anti-repression? I know how you contract with an attorney, but I don't get how you contract with the court support. What the heck is that?
Don't know.
And then it says they pay for travel to and from court for water protectors, housing for water protectors, attorney's fees, court fees, contractor fees. Do you remember that Honor the Earth's so-called house where they were keeping water protectors supposedly was attacked?
Yeah.
And that the windows were smashed and that tires were slashed and all of this? And that they were always talking about how people were threatening their lives?
Yeah.
Reminds me of Al Otro Lado lawyers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they also talk about the legal background. They said we continue to be in great need of criminal attorneys and those with legal backgrounds who are willing to live and work in North Dakota for a number of months. I met attorneys such as these. Many of them came sniffing around my organization and my reporting, which were working directly with the leadership of this organization. Unscrupulous attorneys, many of them, in my opinion, for what they did. And they were part of these groups. They were part of the National Lawyers Guild Association as well. And that group is now rearing its ugly head up within the Caravan Support Network. I want to move on now to the freshetcollective.org page, because this is what happens if you try to go to their page. It tells you it's no longer available. Their page is gone. But here, posted by Honor the Earth, about the Freshet Collective, which they created, in which they are the legal, the fiscal agents of the organization, umbrellaed under their own organization, which they also run, which is basically a giant legal fund.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. She says, if you witness an arrest today at Standing Rock, are arrested or concerned about the possible arrest or of a relative or a loved one, please call the legal support line. And they have a number. With law enforcement preparing to advance, the legal teams are standing by. Freshet Collective and Water Protector Legal Collective. See how they were working together?
Oh, yeah.
waterprotectorlegalcollective.org has a link there. And then it says, and we'll continue to work around the clock to support and stand in solidarity with water protectors. Nah, they left some people abandoned, but that was expected since they just really wanted to line their pockets with the money and say, we're helping all these water protectors, just like these other lawyers are saying, we're helping all of these immigrants, while the immigrants are saying, I think they're making money with our names.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're making money and they're not, we can't really get any legal support from them.
Exactly. Same pattern.
And if you go to the freshetcollective.org, it tells you it doesn't exist as a page anymore. That's why you can't see the image for that.
Okay.
It doesn't resolve to anything. It's gone. So click here if you want to know more about our organization. Oops, it's not there.
404.
404.
Yep.
So much for transparency, I guess. The next slide here is talking about Akichita. And I don't know if you know what this is, but this was actually posted on the page for Sacred Stone. They're defending the sacred, excuse me. And on this page, Defending the Sacred, a guy named Kevin Meager posted just days ago, folks, May 5th. Okay? Let's see what he had to say. Duke, do you want to start reading that for me?
This slide here?
Yeah, this slide here.
Okay, respect Indigenous people's sacred lands.
No, the post by Mr. Kevin Meager.
It is not big enough, and it is really huge.
Okay,
One moment, I'll stretch this out and try to...
There you go. That's better.
Kevin Meager. What is a real Lakota Akichita? The Red Warriors. I have repeatedly exposed Red Warriors as the fake Lakota Akichita. Soldier warrior society they are. One moment, I have to...
Quick recap.
No, I have to go down to...
That's what it says next. The Red Warriors.
The Red Warriors are a group of mostly non-Indian, Latino, white, insurrectionality, anarchist, Antifa thugs working with mixed-blood Pine Ridge Lakota woman
Deborah White Plume
Richards and her husband Alex White Plume as a means to disguise themselves as Lakota Akichita society.
Okay, let's just repeat that part because it's pretty important.
The Red Warriors are a group of mostly non-Indian, Lakota, Latino, white.
You can't get it wrong because this is such an important sentence that the difference between Lakota and Latino is huge, because this guy is accusing the mostly Latino and or white people pretending to be Lakota people. Okay? Pretending. when they're not. He says non-Indian. So they're not Lakota. They're Latino and white insurrectionary anti-fascist anarchists, thugs, he calls them, working with a mixed blood Pine Ridge Lakota woman. So she's not full blood, Deborah White Plume Richards, and her husband, Alec White Plume, as a means to disguise themselves as Lakota Akichita society. That way, thus making it easier for them to infiltrate grassroots American Indian resistance actions. AstroTurfing. Usurping, in other words. This is what I've been trying to explain to you, and this man is restating it again. And he says, be aware that these are some there are some American Indians in this group, mostly non-Lakota, but also there are some Lakota because you have Dean Dedman, you've got Vanessa Dundon, you've got Winia Locke, you've got LaDonna, you've got Chase Iron Eyes, you've got some people that are definitely Lakota. Sure, they sold out. They're people, and they don't care about this, movement. But definitely Lakota. There are some. But he says mostly non-Lakota. And they send these Indians and sometimes Latinos to meet with American Indian resistance organizers in a bid to try to fool them. The reality is that they aren't real traditional Lakota, and most of their members are whites and Latinos. Indeed, Deborah White Plume and Alex White Plume actually have deep family and historical ties to an FBI-controlled mixed blood Lakota paramilitary death squad from Pine Ridge Sioux Reservation known as the Goon Squad. You know about the Goon Squad, Duke.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That killed many traditional Lakotas during the 1970s. Tell them about the history of the Goon Squad because you know.
Well, it was back, people reference Wounded Knee, not the massacre, but the when people gathered in encampment and,
where Grandma Regina that was in Standing Rock was at?
Russell Means, Trudell, all these people were there. And at the time, and since then and before then, the corruption in the tribal government and in law enforcement and the tribal police had a bunch of people who would go around and kill people. They're goon squads. I mean, they drive around, they beat people up, they were armed, and they basically terrorized the reservation because it was controlled by basically the goons and the current sheriff and the people on the tribal council. So they're a very, very bloody, very violent group. So that's what this person is referencing. Wow.
And that these folks are connected to that.
Yeah.
It goes on. Deborah was in her 20s when male members of her Tio Spaye, the Richards extended family, were actively killing and terrorizing traditional Lakotas while serving as goons. Her and her Tio Spaye, the Richards, were in fact infamous on Pine Ridge Reservation as the most brutal, pro-Fed Goon Squad family during what has now become known as the reign of terror. Only around 1980, after the crimes of the goons began to become globally known, did her and her family start identifying as traditional Indians. Read my post at my blog site, quote, Traditional American Indian Alliance, titled Goon Squad Legacy, Deborah Richards, a.k.a. White Plume, Standing Rock, and Beyond, so that you can learn more. Also, Read the famous book In the Spirit of Crazy Horse by Peter Mathiasson. There's a link to my site once there. Scroll down to get the article. And you can get that on traditionalamericanindianalliance.wordpress.com. If these Red Warrior Antifa foot soldiers, he's talking about Evan Duke, he's talking about all of the people in the Caravan Support Network. Right now, he's talking about it. And he's talking about the damage that they do, how violent they are, the criminality of these people. He's telling you the whole thing. He says, if these Red Warrior Antifa foot soldiers being guided by Tara Houska and Winona LaDuke aren't working for the feds, then they sure chose the wrong Lakota to rubber stamp their fraud with the veneer of traditional Lakota credibility. Real traditional Lakota know the white plume's real background. The truth, though, is these Red Warriors, LaDuke and Houska, couldn't find real traditional Lakota to help them. So they had to turn to the white plumes to assist in their infiltration of the Lakota no-dapple resistance. The real local Lakota wouldn't have any of it. Let me remind you all again that our real Lakota, traditional Lakota elders of Standing Rock and Cheyenne River denounced the Red Warriors and asked them to leave. Yet these whites, white women, Latinos, and ignorant, non-traditional young urban Indians continue to have the gall to claim to be Lakota Akichita. Here again, read this article verifying our elders denounced the Red Warriors, which you can find at www.kfyrtv.com/Standing Rock Sioux Tribal Council. So what is an Akichita? He says, I am one. I am a member of a real Lakota Akichita society. I am almost 50 and was raised and trained by real traditional Lakota elders born between the 1890s and the late 1920s. They in turn were raised by their elders who were adults during the Plain Indians Wars, 1860s to 1890s, and they were present during the rubbing out of Custer, the Battle of Greasy Grass, aka Little Bighorn. My Houska father was a revered full-blood Lakota holy man born in 1927. He was a combat veteran who had taken scalps and ears during the war and was at the head of a famous Lakota Akichita society. As for me, my family is from the Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation, lived there for generations. My blood grandpa was a fluent Lakota speaker, would be 102 years old if alive, was a Golden Glove fighter, professional cowboy, rodeo cowboy, and combat veteran with many confirmed kills. As acknowledged, deadly warriors among the Lakota of his area. An acknowledged deadly warrior, among the Lakota of his era. I personally was the ceremonial helper to my Houska dad for 7 years. Additionally, I was raised in Plains Métis, Plains Indian traditions by my blood mother, and who was in turn raised and trained by the old people between the 1940s and 60s. So I'm darn tired of these non-Lakotas, Amesters, urban Indian kids and or Latinos who weren't raised in our traditions and are allied with the Red Warriors, regularly trying to smear me when they have no idea what they're even talking about. My only crime has been to expose what the Red Warriors, the White Plumes, LaDuke, Houska, and the moneyed whites that fund them really did to us local traditional Lakotas during No Dapple. The real traditional Lakota of the Cheyenne River and Standing Rock will never forgive them. And yes, I'm going to keep exposing these people so they can't as easily fool and harm the Ojibwe during the upcoming Line 3 Enbridge fight, which they and the whites they serve have already heavily infiltrated. Now, real Akichita society traditions as follows. I'm not going to get into the rest of this. If you want to go find it, go to social media, look around. This guy knows what he's talking about, and he goes through and explains why these folks are not what they claim to be. How about cultural appropriation and how the fake Ojibwe women, LaDuke, Houska, all, they benefit from these appropriations of their culture. He goes through a list of four reasons why these people are dishonorable and fakes and phonies, and how they basically took over a movement that belonged to someone else. And here are some another poster talking about how we can avoid mistakes. He says to the Ojibwe brethren, learn from Lakota mistakes. Can you please read this one, Duke?
I sure can. Dear Ojibwe brethren, learn from Lakota mistakes. Early AIM actions in South Dakota prior to 1975 were successful because the non-Lakota AIM leadership of that time understood. They understood, 1, the movement's momentum was dependent on Lakota support. Number 2, that support was contingent on AIM accepting our traditional chiefs' leadership, and those chiefs instructed that we pursue what has proved to be highly productive reform. First, direct actions. Most of AIM's famous successes were achieved not because of the decisions of Ojibwe AIM leaders, but rather because of the choices made by our traditional chiefs. Everything fell apart in 1975, and the movement lost momentum. Okay, I'll go to the next one. Block all non-Indians and untrusted Indian activists by joining these camps and also from directly participating in direct action. This prevents infiltration of any federal operatives, as well as exploiting leftists. Arm yourself.
Exploiting leftists.
Yep. Arm yourself. Be willing to apply armed struggle to the strategic time to prevent the destruction of your lands, holy grounds, and harm to your children, just like the Mohawk did in 1890. Don't play into the agenda of the feds or the white leftist exploiters.
White leftist exploiters.
And let little white Latino Antifa anarchists, thugs, run around creating constant low-level and non-strategic counterproductive violence that only serves their goals, but not yours.
Violence. It's very important what this person is saying. I've been talking about it. Duke, I've been talking about it, haven't I? Let's go to the next one. Learn your mistakes, number 2.
Oh, we already went to that. We just read through 1 and 2.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't know that you had gotten that fast.
Yeah.
And gone that far.
This next one is...
the beware of white infiltration.
Exactly.
That's what the Jenkins Wayne Darren also is talking about this. Look, folks, I'm bringing you the stories from the people.
Yeah.
Why don't you read it too, Duke? Let them know. How do they beware of white infiltration? Because this is an indigenous-led movement.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they keep telling us that?
Exactly. Traditional Ojibwe Line 3 resistors, beware of white infiltration. Dear Ojibwe brethren, learn from Lakota mistakes. Early AIM actions in South Dakota prior to
1975 were successful because of the non-Lakota AIM leadership of understood. Is this the same thing?
Yes.
Did you already read this?
Yes. That's why I'm like, didn't I read this in number 1 and 2?
Same thing again?
Yeah.
No.
No, I didn't read the text.
No, this is a different one. It says, I don't know why you think that it's the same.
The beginning's the same. The movement's momentum was dependent on Lakota support.
Yep.
That support was contingent on AIM accepting our traditional chiefs' leadership, and those chiefs instructed that we pursue what proved to be highly productive reformist direct actions. Most of AIM's famous successes were achieved not because of the decisions of Ojibwe AIM leaders, but rather because of the choices made by our traditional chiefs. Everything fell apart in 1975 and the movement lost momentum when these Ojibwe leaders refused to obey our Lakota chiefs and instead joined with violent white revolutionary leftist socialists.
Read that again. White revolutionary
leftist socialists.
Yes.
Whites whose goal was not to force reform in Indian affairs or even protect our treaties, but rather wage a war to topple
the U.S.
USA. Our chiefs, realizing that this didn't serve our interests, publicly denounced AIM and removed their support, which led to most of the real traditional Lakota doing the same. Yet at Standing Rock, no Dapple, those same Ojibwe leaders of the 70s made the same mistake again. And it is fact. And these infiltrating white exploiting pieces of poo are plotting and preparing right now to do exactly the same thing to traditional Ojibwe who are desperate to block the Line 3 pipeline. And guess what? The same Indian collaborators who acted against our traditional Lakota during No Dapple, Red Warrior Leadership, LaDuke, Houska, AIM National, are likely helping these whites to gain access.
Yep.
Recently, I received an email from what may be the renamed Standing Rock Legal Organization, a.k.a. the Water Protector Legal Collective, now calling itself the Pipeline Legal Action Network. Former persons associated with the Red Owl Legal Group from Standing Rock told me the following. I'll let you decide for yourself what you think. Because Red Owl lacked capacity enough lawyers during the Standing Rock, they were approached by white leftist lawyers offering to help.
Okay, so these are numbered, Duke, and you didn't say that. Number one is that because the Red Owl Legal Collective lacked the capacity in lawyers, having enough lawyers during the Standing Rock, they were approached by the white leftist lawyers offering to help. And then number two is that those white lawyers then took over, purging everyone who didn't agree with them and renaming themselves the Red Owl Legal. And then it later became known as the Water Protector Legal Collective. Number three, that many of the white lawyers were anarchists and socialist lawyers that traveled from action to action and following around these soldiers, activists, Antifa, these mostly white Latino Antifa street soldiers they work with to quickly get them out of jail. And that four, they thus hijack. I said AstroTurfed.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever resistance action they can, and they use the donated funds meant to help pay for the bail and legal defense of sincere local resistors to get their Antifa anarchist street punks out of jail.
Yeah.
Those Indians who were at Standing Rock likely heard the many stories circulating about how non-local whites were being bailed out of jail before real Lakota, like Kathlena Bennett.
Yeah.
That's how I knew they were frauds. They wouldn't help a Lakota elder who was one of the survivors of the ancestors of the survivors of the Wounded Knee Massacre, the original Wounded Knee Massacre, Mary Trujillo. That's how I knew they were frauds. And it's baffling everybody. It baffled everybody. If true, it now makes sense. Were they doing that to get their white Latino Antifa punks back on the front lines as soon as possible so that they could engage in their forms of counterproductive violence? Violence banned by our local traditional elders' leadership during the No Dapple campaign?
Yeah.
Here's a copy of the email. If anyone doubts the socialist influence over this organization, note their use of comrade in their greeting. In the context, comrade is defining a, quote, form of greeting often used among socialists, communists, anarchists, and other types of revolutionaries. By the way, a collective is the basic form of social organization in a socialist state and was central to the Marxist-Leninist and the former Soviet Union. Finally, You will also note that the sender of the email closes with the slogan, "Onward in Struggle," which refers to the statement made by Max Hempel, a.k.a. Jan Apple, during the Third Congress of the Communist International in 1921. Here is the quote. "Every action, every struggle for they are actions too, must be developed and driven onward." So what does it mean? It means they're planning to hijack the Line 3 resistance, expand it via violence, not only focused on actually stopping the pipeline in defense of the Ojibwe, but instead is focused on pursuing their revolution. I sincerely doubt a traditional Ojibwe grandmother told these lawyers to call her a comrade, and then shouted, "Onward in struggle," as this email was written. Read for yourself. From gmoney@riseup.net to friends, comrades, and colleagues, dated Saturday, February 26, 20, sorry. Let me try that again. February 2. February dos. 2019. Subject, No Dapple Legal Announce. Pipeline Legal Action Network. Friends, comrades, and colleagues. As some of you know, parenthetical, and some have been part of, folks here in Minnesota have been working on setting up some basic legal infrastructure for Line 3 resistance. We've got a lot of irons in the fire, but I am excited to share with you the completion of our guiding principles as we continue our work forward. These will be the principles that anchor our work. We humbly wish to join our modest contributions to the work already being done and invite those who feel so drawn to walk with us onward in the struggle. So why are these Indian leaders helping these whites infiltrate? Because, one, perhaps they are compromised by Fed infiltration, who are conveniently orchestrating low-level violence that doesn't actually threaten pipeline completion, but two, does substantiate the federal narrative that American Indian resistance camps are infiltrated by mostly white and Latino violent Antifa leftists like the Red Warrior Society and alleged allied organizations, and therefore must be shut down by militarized law enforcement. And lastly, perhaps maybe because these whites are funding them via donations to their federally licensed organizations, conveniently these Indian leaders then put these white organizations to be admitted into the Ojibwe Line 3 resistance efforts as allies. I thus encourage, yet again, Ojibwe resistance organizations to, one, create and mobilize your own all Ojibwe warrior societies. Two, establish your own segregated resistance camps at strategic locations along the path of Line 3, but well away from all supposed non-Indian allies. Three, block all non-Indians and untrusted Indian activists from joining these camps and also from directly participating in direct actions. This prevents the infiltration of any federal operatives as well as exploitation of leftists. Arm yourselves. Be willing to apply armed struggle at the strategic time to prevent the destruction of your lands, holy grounds, and harm to your children, just like the Mohawk did at Oka in 1990. And number 5, don't play into the agenda of the feds of the white leftist exploiters and let little white Latino Antifa anarchist thugs run around creating constant low-level and non-strategic counterproductive violence that only serves their goal but not yours. Be like the real Ojibwe warrior ancestor. Be willing to sacrifice your lives and freedoms to actually stop Line 3. Okay.
Wow.
So this is the words from the real activists that feel that their message, their movement, and their fight was literally hijacked out from under them by white liberals. Antifa thugs, what did he call them?
Punks.
And I wanted to share with you this video of Evan Duke, one of those white Antifa thugs, along with along with Ed Higgins, another white Antifa thug, that worked very closely with Evan Duke and the veterans from the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, and all of the shenanigans that these Native American leaders that I shared with you tonight accuse them of. And hear for yourself as they tell you. These are just some snippets from an old video that Activate Now's Ed Higgins did before he was with Activate Now on Real Progressives.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got Bernie in the background. Here are their stated values, and listen to how ridiculous they sound, claiming that they're not there running things. They're not taking over and usurping the power and voices of real Native Americans as white Antifa leaders. They're just there to be allies. Take a listen for yourself.
You know that picture, that meme, the We Are the Media meme, it says Tulsi Gabbard in the vets? Yeah. So I sent it to Tulsi, and Tulsi said, fun fact, that's the only picture I could find that everyone was smiling.
Got pretty serious, though.
Yeah, it was a serious moment. But I'm glad you smiled for that one shot.
Yeah, we do a little smile there for the people.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's going on tonight?
What's going on? There's a lot going on, huh?
Yeah.
A lot going on.
There is.
We had some live streams come out lately from different parts of the camp. Sacred Stone, Red Warrior made a statement today. Chairman's made a statement.
Chase
made a statement. Chase's statement, yeah. Chase and LaDonna's statement is powerful. So the main consensus is we're not going anywhere. I don't know about you, but I've seen, a trend from the United States government of saying one thing
and doing something
another.
different.
Yeah. So while they're saying, hey, they're not going to drill, blah, 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 we got this under control, they still have 500 National Guard at a campment a mile up the road from a camp that's peaceful. So
yeah, Rattler went down there and just kind of poked the wire the other day.
Yeah, he was just touching the wire.
And then like 50 troops just popped up out of the snow.
Oh, he did.
A little snippy snip, but these guys popped up out of the snow like they were gophers hiding out there.
Like they got recon in the snow, like, hey, you touched that wire. Yeah.
So clearly we can still see that it's the largest concentration of troops that we've seen since we've been here.
Yeah.
Are massed out in those hills.
I don't know where in the United States of America you have 500 troops ready for action, locked and loaded, anywhere in the United States.
Yeah. And they're just waiting. It's a higher concentration than we've ever seen. They're sitting there. The drill's still going. And so I think we're seeing, Chase has always been a leader out here, Chase Ironeyes.
Always been.
But I would say now that Chase is stepping up to kind of lead this group of people that is not willing to go now. The people that want to stay around until that drill pad is done and all the trash is cleaned up. And so Chase he bought us a shipment of lumber yesterday out of Goodwill just so we could finish up our barracks we started out there. We appreciate that from him.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we'll let you out there.
Sorry, I'm going to cough up a lung for a second.
So we called Chase yesterday and got a hold of him. And we asked Chase if he might lead the march, lead one of our marches that we're having at Occupy Inauguration on January 20th in Washington, D.C. It's a big protest going there to make demands of Trump. And to remove our consent to be governed until those demands are met. And we invited Chase and Dallas Goldtooth to come and lead that march with us and have it be an Indigenous-led march, open with a ceremony. And so he said yes, and we're happy about that. And he said, anything you need, brother, if you're out here, if you're real, if you're not wasting my time, if you're willing to stay with us until that pipeline, that drill pad is gone and moved out, the trash is picked up, we'll do anything that you need. And all of those people that said they were going to come out here and change things, raised huge GoFundMes and millions of dollars to get people out here. He said, we're going to actually do what those people claimed to do or offered to do. We're really going to do it. I'm going to raise the money. We're going to stay here. We're going to keep this going until the pad is gone. So in my eyes right now, it's Chase Ironeyes. He's the one that's really holding this down out here and leading what we do next. And LaDonna is definitely there too. Her head is in the right space. And I don't know if all of you saw, but Red Warrior made a statement today on their page, on their website, that they are going to be pulling out. They're going to create their own. Their society is going to stay together, the Red Warrior Society. But
yeah, I want to talk on that.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
I actually read this statement, and first of all, without Red Warrior Camp, we would not be where we are today. That's a fact.
Agreed.
Red Warrior Camp, thank you very much.
Much love, brothers.
Much love, brothers. Sometimes, the tactics allowed the media to frame the story in a certain manner, but at the same time, the amplification of tactics also gave the media what they needed to start to cover.
It's true.
So it was a weird balance, that they were able to successfully manage.
The fact that Red Warrior kept the nonviolent direct actions going is really what kept this a valid protest for such a long time.
Yeah.
Mickey was telling me that, it would seem like after every action, more people would start paying attention. Donations came in.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. And Mickey's, he's a warrior. I love that guy.
He is, yeah. And Red Warriors certainly, they led the charge out here and made this a valid resistance, a real resistance. A real resistance is when you put your body in harm's way to protect people, protect what you believe in, protect the water.
Yeah, standing up for what's right.
Yeah, you have to put yourself in danger to understand what real resistance is about. And we've seen that from the inspiring protests of Black Lives Matter this year, and certainly what's been going on in Standing Rock. We've seen real resistance in the U.S. And I don't know if you guys have read the Red Warrior statement yet, but they actually made a claim that they want to use a diversity of tactics, and that's what they've always done to resist the pipeline, is use a diversity of tactics. And they made a comment where they felt as though the tribal council had used peaceful prayer as a weapon against them to stop their diversity of tactics, and I have to agree with them and say
I have to agree at some point. Yeah,
it was used against them.
Yeah. So we don't. So here's the thing, and we've learned this from our powerful allies in the indigenous community, is that you don't ostracize anyone, you don't orphan anyone. We are all part of this one, big puzzle, big piece of life, and without one variable, you don't have the full equation. So we were not willing to ostracize anybody in the camp. And no. It definitely wasn't me, Red Warrior.
We saw a big change in the camp about, maybe 2 months ago. Before that point, most of the direct actions were private. You didn't know about them. Activists that were on the ground couldn't participate in them, but a decision was made. I kind of believe it was probably a group decision that we're going to involve everybody at camp at direct action, so people got to go down and actually participate and join in.
Yeah.
And it was it brought everyone together.
Yeah, everybody fought together side by side. Yeah. And it was a unifying moment. Yeah.
So, what we're hoping to do at this juncture is now, we're getting close to Occupy inauguration, so we're going to take this to D.C. and we're going to address the head of the Black Snake.
Yeah.
And we know that Trump's got something to play. He's got a card to play in all this. He could mess everything up out here. We know he's going to open the door for petroleum companies and energy companies to go out and frack and build these pipelines like crazy. He talks about it being an investment in infrastructure. So we're going to go there and address him on January 20th. We're going to let him know that we remove our consent to be governed by you unless you meet these demands. And you can find those demands on Occupy Inauguration page. But from there, we will be setting out to the next camps.
Yep.
We're going to be moving to the next camps. And the 27th Cavalry is the veterans that came with Wes. They're organizing and preparing for their next move, too. So the veterans want to be crucial in this movement coming forward, and we know that indigenous people are going to be crucial in it and leading it as well.
Yes,
so
they're leading the movement. We're just there to support, and we will support the powerful movement no matter what. Jordan, TYT, is actually heading out to the Trans-Pecos pipeline. We have the Sable Trail pipeline we're looking at. The tribe from Massachusetts has invited us out there. They said they're ready to go. Let's just do this. So there's a movement that's been started that cannot be easily extinguished because it is prophecy, because it is righteous, and it's time to make standing up for what's right sexy again.
it is sexy.
It is sexy. It's sexy as fuck.
You're going to remove your money. You're going to do a video of yourself removing the money. Then you can repost that on Facebook and challenge 3 of your friends to go in and do the same thing.
I will say that it wasn't actually ridiculous shit because they actually discovered through the investment of that money a way to cure a certain strain of whatever was going on.
You guys look at. Well, I don't know if you know much about me, but I've been doing this for my whole life.
Yeah.
I helped to organize the battle in Seattle. WTO was one of the original organizers for Occupy Seattle. I probably organized and led 35 protests up and down the West Coast, mainly police brutality, but also workers' rights, immigration. Mostly police brutality has really been what I've always been about when I put my own protests and marches together, but I've been doing this my whole life. And let me tell you, it's not about politics, brother, it's about activism. Activism and politics are not the same thing. At the end of the night, politicians' hands are tied, and activists' hands are not tied. We can die, we can go to bed knowing that we follow our convictions all the way to the end. We don't have to, at the end of the night, capitulate to politicians. And that's oftentimes what you see. Politicians and activists are on the other side of the spectrum. It's activists that are trying to stop politicians from doing their bullshit and their dirt. And so we certainly are truly removing our consent to be governed as a group of people. We're no longer going to recognize the GOP or DNC as our sovereign leaders anymore. And when we go January 20th to Washington, D.C., we're going to make that statement. We remove our consent to be governed.
Yeah.
You can't govern us anymore. That doesn't mean we're going to come and burn things down and get violent. It means that we're going to take our money. We're going to divest from all of these companies that are running the government. We're going to do labor strikes. We're going to stop working and hurt their pocketbook.
Uh-oh, what happened to sound there?
It is done.
Oh, there is a missing edit.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, that stinks because he says there at the end that they're not going to recognize the authority of the government, but that doesn't mean that they're going to do anything violent. They're not going to get violent and cause damages or burn things. But we know that that's not true because they did cause violence. They did. And they were bragging at the beginning of this, talking about the fact that, hey, when they don't let them use violent tactics, then they're kind of binding their hands. And two, when they did use those violent tactics like the Red Warriors, hey, fists up, dude. Thank you for everything you did. They got more donations and they got more attention. And they were proud of the fact that they got more attention and more donations. So you're welcome, okay, Indians? That's what he said, if you listen. He was talking about being very anti-government, and they did hurt people. And the Kathleen Bennett case wasn't even the only one. It was just the first one that exposed all of this nonsense to me very clearly. But here is a video in which Dean Dedman, the drone pilot I showed you, is now at the Texas camps at the border, working with Evan Duke, working with all of these activists, Antifa. What did he call them? Poo-head thugs? Yeah. And this is what he dedicated to me. The burning of the buildings he dedicated to Cindy at 88.1. And he says to me in this video that I did when this happened back then, that I screwed up, except he uses an expletive, when I gave up the information ahead of time that they were going to burn and do violent things like this, that they were going to hurt people, that I gave that information up too soon. And this is what they condemned me for, because I called it like I saw it happening. And I said, these folks are involved. And it goes all the way up to the leadership of the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, the people he came to camp with, Evan Duke, Wesley Clark Jr., and Michael A. Wood Jr., L'Oreal Blackshaw, their national spokesperson, and Von Balaj, Bill Running Fisher, Mulaney Stone, and the people that were at the head of that organization and that grouping. Here's that video. One moment. You're going to burn things? She said, yeah. Yeah. But it was just trash. It was just trash. And then Michael Marcus and Ed Higgins and these guys told us, yeah, we're going to burn it down, but it was intel. There was intel inside. Mm-hmm. It was my building. I wanted to burn it down anyway. And then we see all these buildings burning at the camp, and they tell us it's a ceremony. It was a ceremony. A ceremony that resulted in two people getting burned, mm-hmm. one severely, having to be life flighted to Minneapolis. That's what happened. And I'll tell you what else happened. Dean was out there enjoying the fires this time.
Yeah.
And I want to show you the video so we could talk about how ceremonial this burning of buildings was. Let's look at it.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. That was the best joke of the night, man. That was the joke of the night, I think. 8.1 FM, it wasn't me. Yeah, you hear that, Cindy? It wasn't him. You let go of knowledge way too early in that move. But it's okay. I forgive you. We all fuck up sometimes. This is dedicated to 88.1 Fargo Moorhead. Here, hold it. I'm gonna get myself in.
Yeah, he was selling that whole this is a ceremony thing to people, and it was ridiculous for me to hear, especially when I'm hearing these same Native Americans working together with the caravan saying, we bring the eagle and the condor prophecy, hiding the kind of violent clashes, the exploitation of the caravan members that they are doing while they call themselves protectors of the sacred. This is a scam, folks. These scandalous accusations have to be investigated thoroughly because I believe that there is something that doesn't pass the smell test. And I'm going to keep on digging. I will be bringing you more information. Thanks for staying with us during this show, A Mexican Crossing Lines, here on 88.1 FM, KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Say goodnight, Duke.
Good night, Duke.
Bye.